po ang lahat na baguhin ang inyong pangalan sa pagkakaayos na company _ tawa po ay DOST-FNRI_1. Maaari po ninyo itong baguhin sa pagtapat ng inyong mga mouse cursors sa ating participants list. Pindutin lamang po ang ating rename button. Upang hindi po makaabala sa ibang tagapakinig ng ating webinar, maaari lamang po na siguraduhin na tayo ay nakamute. Hinihikayat din po ang inyong mga katanungan kung ilagay ang inyong mga tanong sa ating chat na ating sasagutin sa open forum pagkatapos ng diskusyon. Ang mga makakatanggap lamang po ng certificates ay ang mga Zoom attendees na nakapagsagot ng pre-test, post-test at evaluation. Ang mga web natin ay opisyal nang nasa iTrain website upang mas mapadali ang email notifications, webinar reminders, at distribution ng certificates. Kaya naman, hinihikayat na bago lamang ay webinar ay nakapagsagot na kayo ng inyong mga pre-tests. Ito ay kailangan nyo masagutan 1 oras bago magsimula ang ating webinars. Maaari nyo i-click ating speaker view format na makikita ninyo sa itaas na bahagi ng inyong mga Zoom windows para sa inyong pakikinig sa ating webinar. Mahalaga din po ang inyong internet connection para sa tuloy-tuloy at malinaw na pakikinig sa ating webinar. Kung kayo ay madi-disconnect, hintayin lamang ang pagbalik ng inyong mga Zoom window o i-click muli ang inyong mga website accounts. Ang ating libreng webinar ay nabigyan ng 0.5 CPD points Regulation Commission para sa mga nutritionist dietitian. Mahalaga po ang inyong impormasyon katulad ng inyong PRC ID at ang inyong PRC expiration date sa inyong iTrain account. Kung kayo ay isang R&D at may PRC license, siguraduhin lamang na ang inyong account ay updated. Maaari niyong i-edit ang inyong account sa pamamagitan ng Edit Account button malapit sa inyong pangalan. Maaari din ninyong baguhin ang inyong mga pangalan dahil ito ang gagamitin ng aming system sa pag-generate ng inyong mga certificates. Kami ay magbibigay ng link para sa inyong attendance bago matapos ang ating webinar. Ito ay kailangan para sa inyong timeout ng pag-attend na isa sa mga kailangang impormasyon ng PRC. Mahalaga na tama at parehas ang inyong ilalagay na email address sa inyong ginamit na account upang automatic itong makikilala ng ating system sa generation ng ating mga certificates. Kung mali at magkaiba ang email address na inyong ilagay ay hindi po kilala ng ating system. Mag-log in sa inyong iTrain account sa oras po na 1 p.m. kung magbubukas ang ating post-test at evaluation. Ito ay maaari ninyong gawin sa oras lamang ng 1 to 5 p.m. mamayang hapon. I-click lamang po ang profile at sagutan ang post-test at evaluation. Pagkatapos po ninyong masagutan ang ating post-test at evaluation ay madadownload nyo na ang certificates. Muli po, magandang umaga po sa ating lahat and maligayang pagdating po ulit sa ating ng ating webinar series on DOST-FNRI. Noong Lunes po ay natin ang Philippine Dietary Reference Intakes o ang PDRI 2015 bilang unang bahagi ng ating DOST-FNRI webinar series on the nutrition tools. Ngayon naman po ay tatalakayin naman natin ang Pinggang Pinoy at ang Nutritional Guidelines for Filipinos. Ako po si Jane Sune ng Food and Nutrition Training Unit at ako po ang facilitator para sa webinar na ito. Upang simulan po ang ating programa, tinatawagan ko po si Dia Colleen C. Diaz, Project Assistant Technology Diffusion and Science and Technology Services Division para sa isang panalangin.
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Lagay po natin ang ating sarili sa presensya ng Panginoon. Panginoon, maraming salamat po sa lahat po ng mga biyayang inyo pong pinagkakaloob sa bawat isa sa amin. Salamat po sa panibagong araw na inyong ibinigay. Salamat po sa pagkakataon na ito na kami po ay nagkakatipon-tipon upang umattend po nitong webinar on Pinggang Pinoy. Gabayan niyo po ang bawat isa sa amin araw-araw. Gabayan niyo din po ngayon ang aming resource speaker na maibahagi niya po ang kanyang mga expertise at knowledge sa topic na kanya pong i-discuss. Ganun na din po ay marami pong matutunan ng aming mga participants mula po sa webinar na ito. Ito po ang aming samot dalangin sa inyong pong pangalan. Amen. Muli po, magandang umaga po.
Yan, maraming salamat Ms. Colleen para sa inyong panalangin. Ngayon naman, isa sa mga mandato ng DOST-FNRI ay ang pag-develop ng mga rekomendasyon ayon sa resulta ng ating National Nutrition Survey. Tulong ng iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno ay nabuo natin ang Pinggang Pinoy at ang Nutritional Guidelines for all Filipinos. Ang mga rekomendasyon na ito ay mahalagang nakakarating sa bawat Pilipino, lalo na sa panahon ng pandemya, kung saan kailangan mahalaga ang sapat na nutrisyon ng ating katawan upang mapanatiling malakas ang ating resistensya. Kaya naman, parte pa rin ng mandato ng DOST-FNRI ay ipakalat ang mga nakalap naming impormasyon sa pamamagitan ng webinars kagaya nito. Upang ipakilala ang Pinggang Pinoy at ang Nutritional Guidelines for Filipinos, ating i-welcome ang ating speaker para sa sesyon na ito. Ang ating speaker ay nagtapos ng Bachelor of Science in Nutrition sa University of Santo Tomas at nagtapos ng kanyang Master's in Health sa Wageningen University Research Center sa Netherlands. Siya din ay kumukuha ng kanyang doctorate in nutrition sa parehong university. Siya ay involved in research studies on nutrition, epidemiology, and public health, at currently as a senior science research specialist at the Nutrition Research and Development Group ng DOST-FNRI. Let's all welcome Mr. Robbie Carlo C. Tan. Good morning po, Sir Robbie.
Hello. Good morning. Yeah, I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, sir. We can hear you po.
Okay. Sige po. Yes, thank you very much po. At magandang umaga sa lahat. Maganda at malusog na umaga. I hope everyone's doing well and everyone's healthy. So for today, I'll be sharing with you about Pinggang Pinoy and the NGF. Okay, naka-flash na po yung slide.
Yes po, Sir Robbie.
Okay, sige. Yes, again, good morning everyone. So I'll be sharing with you po nutrition tools developed sa FNRI, which is Pinggang Pinoy, and the Nutritional Guidelines for Filipinos. So as you know, ang mandate po ng FNRI is to define the nutritional status of the population, also to develop and recommend policy options, strategies, programs, and projects by appropriate agency, and to diffuse knowledge and technologies in food and nutrition.
Excuse me. Medyo mahina daw po ang inyong audio from the participants end po.
Okay, sige. Okay, I'll just stop share and adjust my settings.
Okay po, sir. Thank you po.
Thank you, sir. How about this one? clear po.
Sa mga participants natin, is Sir Robbie clear po on your end? On my end, it's clear po.
Clear po sa ano. Okay, sige. Mahina pa rin po.
Medyo mahina pa din daw po, sir.
Okay, sige. I'll adjust my setting ng audio. Okay, how about this one?
That's better po, sir. Thank you po.
Okay, sige. Sorry, na iba yung setting ng Zoom. Okay, so okay. Okay, so okay na po yung PowerPoint natin. Yan, naka-flash
Yes
na po.
sir. Yes
Okay,
po.
sige. Sorry about that. And yes, okay. Moving on. So before I start my presentation, I just want to ask lang your opinion, or what do you think yung okay dito sa tatlong photo? Parang asan dito yung mukhang maganda, healthy, nutritious, or anong pipiliin nyo? Yung nasa gilid, nasa gitna. Okay. So, parang kumbaga, why I'm showing this is I want to ask yung perspective natin on how we see food as being healthy, nutritious, or what. Kasi yung unang image, sa left part ko, baka sa right nyo, yung may dalawang rice, that looks something kind of appetizing in a way. Excuse me. Sorry, excuse me. So yung meron dito dalawang rice. Then we have here the other one, yung sa kabila with the black background. It's also food, but merong isda, gulay at prutas. So, and we have the concept of in the middle, which is through this presentation, we'll be able to gain some insights. And I'm sure most of us are very familiar na sa concept ng anong dapat kainin, but it's really good to reinforce this concept, lalo na ngayong pandemic. Kailangan natin ng healthy and nutritious diet to support yung immunity natin. Okay? So, we'll move to next. So, I want to share na people consume foods and not nutrients. So that's why I want to compare yung plate kanina with some nutrient and supplements or vitamins, minerals, and the one with plain food. Kasi we want to transition from the topic discussed last Monday, which is yung PDRI, yung Philippine Dietary Reference Intakes, which is very important to determine kung ano yung dapat natin ma-attain or ma-meet na nutrient or energy requirement. However, if we look at it naman sa context ng ano natin, everyday living, iba-iba naman yung ginagawa natin. Parang hindi naman natin kinakain yung ang tawag dito yung mineral. So, ang nangyayari is what we do is we buy food to get the nutrient from the food. And with that, dun papasok yung concept ng food-based dietary guidelines, which is food-based dietary guidelines is on a national level yan. We call it FBDGs. It provides a context-specific advice and principle on healthy diets, which are rooted on sound evidences. So it should be scientific yung basis, and it responds to a country's public health and nutrition priorities. So meaning, pag sinabing priorities, nag-iiba to. It depends on the situation. Every 5 years, 10 years or so. It also considered the food production and consumption pattern, socio-cultural influences, also the availability of food composition data, which will be discussed in a latter part ng series na to, and accessibility. Typically, FPDG is proposed a set of recommendation in terms of foods and food group, and based sa dietary pattern to provide yung required nutrients and promote overall health and chronic diseases. So, why do we need food-based dietary guidelines ngayon? When I say FBDG, it's a general term po. Because the causes of malnutrition are complex at multi-layered. Diet kasi is one of the single most important contributors to malnutrition, which itself is influenced by many factors. Gaya ng pinakita kanina, ang daming factors that contribute to FBDGs. And FBDG can serve to guide a wide range of food and nutrition health, agriculture, and nutrition education policies and programs, therefore representing opportunity to favorably impact diets and food system from production to consumption. So, ngayon, ang pag-unawa natin ngayon sa mga guidelines, kagaya ng NGF, Pinggang Pinoy, or we say FBDG, is it's not just the recommendation. For me, before, when I was not working on this topic, ang alam ko would be these are recommendation intended for nutrition education, but if we look at it on a bigger perspective, hindi lang pala siya recommendation, it sets the parang agricultural agenda siguro. Kung kanwari we recommend this kind of food, syempre dapat the country can produce and supply this recommendation. So it greatly affects other sector and concern of the country. It's not only about the education. So this is yung sa implementation ng food guidelines in a context of program and policy tool, it is used to improve food security, food safety, and nutrition and health. And also the guidelines can also be used to shape the food environment. Next, as an educational tool, ginagamit to ng nutrition and nutrition and health-related profession sa pag-educate, counseling, at pag parang pagsabi kung ano yung tamang or dapat kainin. So these are very helpful guides for health professionals. Then the guidelines is integrate the guidelines in a broader national and local health promotion and disease prevention program. So efforts po. And also for capacity development, investment and planning for capacity development should be thought of from the development of FPDG and occur in parallel with the implementation plan. So, during the development ng guidelines, dapat na siya nako-consider na yung implementation proper. So, as you can see here, ang daming FBDGs per country. May mga sila unique FBDG. So all around the world, from Africa to South America, Asia, Europe, may kanya-kanyang guidelines. It depends on the country, and we can see it here. So yeah, from the FAO website. Yeah, sorry about that. Makita natin na iba-iba yung country na meron tayo, na iba-iba yung country na may guidelines. However, I want to show yung sa Philippines. So yung Philippines is nag-start siya noong 1995, which meron siyang tawag dito, yung STAR 1955 rather. Then in 1975 we have this Your Guide to Good Nutrition. So makita natin yung evolution. And it was only in 1989 we had the RDA. So basically the RDA is the nutrient requirement, and then the FBDG, which is shown in yung star or yung circle, ay yun yung naman food-based. So nauna tayo nagkaroon ng food-based guidelines sa country before we had our RDA. And then through time, nagkaroon na ng mga updates and revision of this guide. And we can see here na usually kung kailan nagkaroon ng RDA, that's when the food-based guidelines work. Sorry. Okay. So, with that, yung sa makita natin sa NGF, nag-start siya noong 1990 kasi 89 yung RDA. Then in 2002 RENI, we have the Nutritional Guidelines for Filipinos na year 2000. And then recently, we have the 2012 Nutritional Guidelines for Filipinos and then the 2015 PDRI.
Hello po, Sir Robbie.
Release ng mga middle, early 2000. Then with the 2012 NGF, we have the Pinggang Pinoy naman. So we can see the trend here na from the nutrient recommendation, then we translate it into a nutritional national guidelines, which is, we call it here nutritional guidelines. Actually, the reason why we term nutritional guidelines here is because later makita natin yung 10 messages, but in other countries, of their messages ay context lang talaga ng diet. So it's food-based, purely food-based. But in Philippines, there are messages that accounts for nutrition-related behavior, gaya ng mga lifestyle, smoking, physical activity. So that's the reason that we use the nutritional term, nutritional guidelines, more inclusive rather than FBDG, which is purely about food. So, okay. So, so this is the framework mentioned ko earlier na from from a nutrient base, it's translated into nutritional guidelines. Then from the guidelines, nagkaroon ng visual representation, which is, for example, pyramid there, and then Pinggang Pinoy. So it's nice. I think important to know na alam natin yung pagkaka-connect ng mga tools and recommendations ng country, because for us na that we work on nutrition or sa respective health profession natin, we know na siya i-align. Kasi when we do give advice or we educate our, for example, target client, magandang alam natin yung pagka-connect if ever tinanong, so we can align and see na hindi nagko-conflict yung mga content. So I think that's one important thing I also learned when I've been working in this topics. So now I'll be sharing yung the 2012 NGF. So 2012 NGF was approved noong October 31. 2012, that's almost 10 years ago. Ang bilis ng panahon, but so this is turned into a policy through board resolution from 2012 po. So we can see here na yung mga messages natin is not only food-based. We have also messages na related sa behavior, like number 9, attain normal body weight through proper diet and moderate physical activity. And then ang number 10 is overall lifestyle. There's physical activity, healthy choices, manage stress, avoid alcoholic beverages, and do not smoke. So makita natin yung messages na to, and I think, I believe these are concepts na somehow
Robbie. Okay po, apologies po. Sa ating mga participants, currently nagkakaroon na po ng problem ang internet connection ni Sir.
Hello.
Yes, Sir Robbie.
Yeah, sorry. Na-cut po.
Yes po, sir.
Okay.
It's the end po nung discussion po ninyo on the 2012 NGF.
Okay. Na-stop ako. Okay. For a while. Yeah. So, I'm sorry. Nawawala yung internet. How about ngayon? Meron?
Yes po, yes po. So
Okay,
dito sir dun dito sa end ng NGF.
okay. Sige, sorry. I don't know ano namin dito sa office, sa internet. Sorry. But yeah, if ever I miss out anything, just feel free to contact me, yung mga participants, and I'll try to answer. Apologize again for the technical problem, but yeah, nevertheless, yung makukuha dito yung knowledge is very talaga important. I hope I was able to share. So nabanggit ko dito sa yung NGF being a policy here, policy siya sa country. Policy sa country. So this was approved by the National Nutrition Council. So imagine nyo, almost magta 10 years na rin since it was approved. And then we can see here that among the 10 messages, iba-iba yung approach niya sa nutrition. We have the exclusive na food-based. When we say food-based, yung pagkain talaga, like message number 3. Then we have here messages na regarding sa behavior, like normal physical activity, food choices, manage stress, and avoid alcoholic beverages or do not smoke. So, kaya ang term natin sa Philippines is nutritional guidelines rather than food-based dietary guidelines because of some element. And we can see here na ang guidelines natin is hindi lang siya sa adults. There's also messages related to breastfeeding, sa infant. So, parang we try to be as inclusive sa population group natin. Okay, now for the Pinggang Pinoy, this is the visual representation again, the context of food-based dietary guidelines. Okay. So sa Pinggang Pinoy, it's a tool that conveys in a simple and understandable way the concept of eating a variety of food at the right proportion to help meet energy and nutrient needs. It offers immediate visual cue on the right proportion of food groups and recommended for consumption at mealtime, and it sends message that a balanced meal should be kalahati ng plato should be vegetable and fruits with more vegetable than fruits, and then the other half would be for rice and fish with more energy giving food than meat. Also, it provides important notes sa nutrient without excessive intake of calorie, sodium, sugar, fats, which alam natin related sa onset ng non-communicable diseases. And lastly, it intends to complement and supplement the daily nutritional guide pyramid. So, again, hindi pinalitan ng Pinggang Pinoy, but In fact, it intends to complement and supplement each other, along with the nutritional guidelines for Filipino.
Okay po ulit sa ating mga fans. For a while po.
Hello. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Miss Jane.
Yes, sir.
Saan ako na-cut?
Doon po sa end po ninyo ng discussion ng
Pinggang Pinoy.
yes po.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm figuring out but nag-ano yung internet dito sa room
Office po,
namin.
sir.
Yeah, sa office ako. So, I don't know what's going on. But, yeah, I apologize ulit. I hope na ano yung... Okay.
Paliwanag niyo naman po yung intention na i-supplement ang Pinggang Pinoy food pyramid.
Okay. Yung ngayon, okay na. Naka-connect. Naka-flash na.
Yes po, sir. Yes.
Okay, sige. I'm really sorry po. Okay. So, yeah. So, again, I want to highlight na hindi pinalitan yung pyramid, but the Pinggang Pinoy intends to complement and supplement the pyramid because we know the pyramid naman, yung concept ng pyramid natin is sabi doon na yung nasa top part, it should be taken less. Then habang bumababa, mas madami yung contribution niya sa daily intake. So meaning the pyramid is for a per day basis. So pang isang araw siya, while ang Pinggang Pinoy naman ay per plate, per meal. So that would be for breakfast, lunch, and supper. So yun yung ano niya, yun yung pagkakaiba nila pero sila'y ano naman, nagko-complement. Okay, so for the Pinggang Pinoy, marami tong population na to target. So we have for kids, we have also for teens, we have also for adults, older person, and also we have sa physiologic group, pregnant and lactating women. So iba-iba yung recommendation kasi ng kada population group. Yeah, so I'll be going through this briefly, but ang context ko po dito is to say na paano siya na-articulate from requirement, from a nutrient requirement perspective, from PDRI, paano siya naging food-based ngayon, paano siya naging pagkain, paano siya naging kanin, gulay, ganyan. So the FNRI research team work on this led by Ms. Jovi Sandoval. Yung paggawa ng Pinggang Pinoy and pag-translate into food base. So we can see here na from the energy ng male and female, so kahit magkaiba sila, we have to make it, parang transform it into a nutrition tool that's very easy to understand, madaling intindihin, then at the same time, it meets the requirement and backed up by sound science. So that's the challenge between this kind of work. So these are just examples, and we can see na tumataas-taas yung intake ng tawag dito. Particularly sa rice. Doon nagbabago actually sa rice as compared sa vegetable and fruit. So we can see here lahat ng age group may recommendation ng gulay. So for example, sa adults, ang male, we have 1.5 cup rice, and then for the female, the recommendation would be uh, 1 cup rice. And for the vegetable naman, ang recommendation sa Pinggang Pinoy is 1 to 1.5 cups of vegetable, raw or cooked. And we have 1 cup of 3/4 to 1 cup naman sa female. Okay? So, all this information naman will be found sa FNRI website. I'll be sharing later yung link. So, now I want to share with you yung context ng NGF and Pinggang Pinoy. Parang paano ba siya nagko-complement? Paano ba sila nagiging harmonious? So we can see we have 10 messages here. Ang NGF natin, we can see medyo qualitative yung dating. It gives a general guideline, recommendation on how you can attain overall health and wellness. Then from there, we go to Pinggang Pinoy and we can see yung elements ng NGF that can be na-touch ng Pinggang Pinoy. So dito pumapasok yung context na sabi ko na we have to know and understand yung relationship nila because napaka-importante nun. Kasi for example, sa Pinggang Pinoy, we can see here na ito yung mga yung nasa red boxes po. These are the concepts that na-carry ng Pinggang Pinoy. So kumbaga, kahit magkaiba sila or magkaiba ng nature ng tool, nandun pa rin yung common denominator pagdating sa key messages. So, napaka-importante talaga ng nutritional guidelines as it kind of sets the tone pagdating sa ibang visual translation natin ng, for example, pyramid and the Pinggang Pinoy. Okay? I hope I was able to explain yung concept na to. And just for reference, you can download nutrition tools, for example, the Pinggang Pinoy, NGF, Pyramid. You can visit FNRI website and you can look for the red box po, yung tools and standards, and you can freely download yung material po for reference. Okay. So now, I hope there's still sufficient time, but if ever medyo nag-tight, please let me know lang po, Miss Jane, if so I can quickly So, want to share lang na nagkaroon tayo ng campaigns in the past 8 years or so pagdating sa NGF and Pinggang Pinoy, and we can see it here. Meron mga sa movie, merong mga individual efforts ng iba-ibang regions, organizations. All this intends to promote yung ating material. However, we can see here na parang yung concept, for example, yung concept ng healthy diet, nandun naman siya, na-instill na siya sa atin since 1990 through this kind of guidelines, and we have this effort. However, it's a challenge pagdating sa implementation and adoption ng mga Filipinos. So, kung napapractice ba siya, that's another story. And we can see here na yung trend ng ating nutritional status through time. And also, here, okay, sorry. Ito, makita natin dito, ang minimum requirement, at least ang target natin is 400 grams of fruit and vegetable per day. And this is the trend in consumption of fruits and vegetable among Filipinos through time, 1993 to 2015, 2018. And medyo challenge talaga. And the thing is, yung gulay at prutas naman, nandiyan na talaga siya sa nutritional guidelines natin since 1990. So very consistent na meron message doon na to eat more fruits and vegetable. And actually, ano nga rin it's also kind of tawag dito parang surprising in a way na alam natin naman yung concept ng pagkain ng gulay at prutas ay healthy siya even without knowing itong mga tools. Parang it's just somehow uh, parang prevailing knowledge concept sa atin na alam natin healthy talaga ang gulay at prutas. But iba yung translation niya into practice. So for me, I want to share lang things I've learned and I hope sa inyo rin may ma-pick up din kayo dito na the development process actually is very important as much as the implementation din and yung pag-practice ng guidelines. Kasi dito nagsa-start lahat sa development process. And I want to share lang a study published in Philippine Journal of Science regarding the awareness and adherence of meal planners in the Philippines regarding FBDG. So this is the main author is Miss Marilu Madrid. Like that. So nagkaroon ng study sa FNRI. This is part of the updating survey of noong 2015 and ang naging target ay meal planner. And we look into the awareness, source of information, more of the general information on how this FBDG reach ang ating intended audience and at the same time how aware sila. And you can see here na yung pyramid yung pinaka-familiar sila. Then Kumain-Ments, then we have the NGF and Pinggang Pinoy. So, but makita natin na most of them, ang pinaka nare-recall nila na message would be the eat more vegetable and fruits. So, I think yun yung nabanggit ko na parang automatic na attributed yung healthy sa pagkain ng gulay at prutas. And it's supported by this result. And the thing is nakita sa result ay pag tinanong na aware po ba kayo sa Pinggang Pinoy, aware kayo sa NGF, they would say yes. But if you ask na ano po yung konsepto nun, na iiba yung sagot. Parang alam nila, sabihin nila yes, but pag pinadescribe na, parang sabihin ko, for example, alam ko yung Pinggang Pinoy, then pag pinadescribe, ang didescribe pala niya would be the pyramid, not the Pinggang Pinoy. So, those information, nakita sa study na to na parang dapat pala ma-consider yung pag communicate ng mga tools. Napaka-importante niya. Kahit alam natin na each tool is unique, lahat yun may kanya-kanyang function or parang objective ba siya ginawa for education, nutrition education. However, pag marami pala or kung sabay-sabay sila na-release, minsan napaghahalo-halo na siguro kahit alam natin yung concept nila nag-a-align. So it's a thing na I kind of realized then through time about this FBDGs. Kasi for example, si NGF, Kumain-Ments, Pinggang Pinoy, Pyramid, parang alam natin same lang naman yung concept niya, though iba-iba yung function. So, napaka-importante ng role ng nutrition educator sa public para ma-educate sila. And also, there's a publication by Dr. Tanchoco. This was back then, 10 years ago, and I agreed on her paper na there's a comprehensive plan that should be included in the implementation, assessment and monitoring of the guidelines. And kailangan talaga magkaroon ng feedback system. We have different sectors sa food economics. There should be dialogue between different sectors, the country, and it should be reviewed and revised periodically. And now for the future plans, I think it's about time na rin to change or revisit siguro yung guidelines since it was released in 2012. Siguro in few years time, I'm not sure, magandang tignan. Nag-iba na rin yung landscape dynamics ng food environment, and the way I see it is if FNRA will be revising it should be again um, representing different sectors of the society, different disciplines, and um, mas maganda if the nutrient standard will be revisit first if it would be changed or not. Then from there, bago tignan if babaguhin or papalitan pa yung pyramid, yung Pinggang Pinoy, and yung NGF. And then there's also trends in like the development process, a more scientific development, use of optimization, um, consideration of food systems, and development of monitoring and evaluation tool. And ngayon dumadami na rin yung pagtingin sa environmental impact ng recommendations. Maliban sa economic constraint, they also look into the environmental constraint. So now with the recent summit, UN, the food systems, doon nakikita ngayon yung balance of nutrient, dietary recommendation with economic impact, social impact, and environmental impact. So before na medyo very straightforward into the nutrition context lang yung pag look into the development process. Now it should be more tawag dito wide na yung scope niya. Well-rounded. Then maraming tinitignan na indicators. And this is just an example of the food system framework being used by the United Nations. And also use of diet optimization, which is a very important and powerful technique for me. I think sa pag-generate ng food-based recommendation, this can be used on a national level or even regional or community level. So this is a mathematical technique on developing the development ng food-based recommendation, kung ilang servings, for example, ng gulay ang kailangan, or pwede rin ilagay na malaman dito kung anong gulay yung dapat i-recommend. So this can help further improve the development process. And of course, kailangan bago mag-start ng revision, it's very important to have a very good monitoring and evaluation tool, which is, for me, I believe na isa to sa kailangan ibigyang pansin in developing FBDGs din. So currently, FNRA is working on HEI, and there's also a publication by our director, Dr. Imelda Agdepa, on the use of healthy eating index in determining the dietary pattern and its relationship with non-communicable diseases. So now, with the yun nga, parang may darating na yung time, due date, for example, na kailangan i-revisit ang guidelines, mas malaki na ngayon yung titignan natin when we do this, and we encourage the participation of different sectors in the country when we do this process. And now for the summary, just want to reinforce again yung healthier food choices. Always remember, dapat it should be varied. There's moderate and there's balance every time we eat our meals. Remember to eat more vegetables and fruits. Lalo na ngayon, it's very essential to strengthen the immune system. And of course, there's no single food that can provide all the nutrients that our body needs. And for the context of FBDG in the country, while we have different FBDGs and each tool is unique, it should be in harmony with each other, hindi conflicting yung mga hindi conflicting yung lumalabas na information. Then for FBDG, it should consider a complement to a strategic and comprehensive dietary intervention. So it's not really a standalone intervention. When you communicate it, it should be embedded in other dietary intervention of the country or any health promoting intervention. And then lessons from the past would be helpful, lalo na yung mga advancement in science and development process. And it's important for us to revisit and maybe update na, if necessary, the existing FPTGs. Okay, and before I end, I just want to relay lang po na there would be a seminar, webinar next week. This will be talking about the linear programming for building healthy diets, and matatakal din dito yung diet modeling, food-based dietary guidelines, and we have distinguished speakers from different Southeast Asian countries that will be sharing their experience on this. And I hope yung webinar offered by DOST-FNRI can really be very helpful sa ating practice. And so with that, I end my presentation. And again, I apologize sa technical issues sa internet, but if ever there's any question, just feel free to send an email or contact us here at FNRI. And again, I want to highlight the importance of research-oriented approach in any endeavor we're doing, because without good data, we're flying blind, and if you can't see, you can't really solve it. So yun pa. Thank you very much, and if you have any questions, I'm glad to answer it. Thank you.
Okay po. Thank you very much, Sir Robbie, sa inyo pong presentation and discussion on the Pinggang Pinoy. So ngayon nakita na natin, since 1955 ay meron na tayong mga recommendations on ano ba yung mga kailangan nating kainin para po ma-maintain po natin yung ating healthy lifestyle. So now, Sir Robbie, we'll proceed po with the open forum. So we have questions here po sa ating chat box. So sa mga participants po natin, if you have questions po, you can place it po sa ating chat box para po ma-address po natin and mabanggit po natin sa ating speaker. So Sir Robbie, question po from Miss Joy. So her question would be, the onset of pandemic drastically changed the lifestyle of people, such as mobility, energy consumption, and etc. Was there any significant effect on the distribution of nutrients in the context of Pinggang Pinoy?
Actually, in the context of Pinggang Pinoy, walang masyadong changes sa nutrients per se, because the Pinggang Pinoy would really focus on a food-based perspective. So, but what I would say, if lalo na ngayon na pandemic and we really have to boost our health, napaka-important ng fruits and vegetables actually sa plate. So, yun yung importante, lalo na we have limited physical activity, and as well as limited exposure, parang engagement sa labas. So the thing is, we have to follow yung recommendation of Pinggang Pinoy, at least in terms of the food context. We have the fruits, vegetable, water. Again, I want to highlight the importance of water. Kailangan siya dyan. And yung energy to rice or maybe other staples such as root crops, pwede yung kapalit, noodles, yun yung ilalagay. But ang challenge ngayon kasi is the quality of the food na ilalagay sa plate. We can have sources of carbohydrates, but maybe it would be coming from high sodium, maybe processed noodles or something. So that's the challenge actually. Parang we might be meeting the recommendation ng Pinggang Pinoy, we might be meeting the recommendation ng Pinggang Pinoy, but yung panggagalingan nun may be more on the processed food, baka yun yung available lang din sa atin. So we have to make sure na it would be concept ng balance pa din, yun. Again, balance, variety, and moderation. So I know it's a challenge, but I hope the principle of the Pinggang Pinoy would still be instilled sa atin. Okay. I hope I was able to answer.
Okay po, thank you Sir Robbie. Ma'am Joy, if you have further questions po, you can send it po sa ating chat box. So parang ang kailangan din sir, no, yung quality ng mga food items na ilalagay natin dun sa bawat components po ng Pinggang Pinoy. And if less mobility dahil hindi na tayo masyadong gumagalaw, no, since of us are working from homes, if ganun pa yung setup ng bawat isa. So siguro yung nabanggit ni Sir Robbie na moderation, balance, yun pong ating i-apply. Okay po. Another question po from our participant. Do the DOST-FNRI have plans to include the assessment of FBDGs and Pinggang Pinoy on its adherence and effectiveness in the National Nutrition Survey?
Actually, before yung shinare ko na publication, it was a study. It was included in the updating of the NNS. So kasama siya sa questionnaire that's na during the data collection. But now, I would say that for the immediate, at least during this time, we're working on the project of a Filipino Health Eating Index, and we're using the National Nutrition Survey data and also the 2012 NGF, and we're finalizing actually the Health Eating Index, the tool, and with that, mas pwede natin ma-objectively evaluate yung adherence sa guidelines. Kasi mas ano siya, I said objective because before, as you know, the study was more of the awareness. So iba ang objective nun, but it's more of like a self-reported method. But this one, we're looking into pool of data, national data, and see the adherence maybe through time from 2013 to 2018 based on the dietary intake data. Yeah, we will include. Thank you po sa question.
Okay po. So siguro isa po ito sa mga aabangan po natin, no, sa mga magiging resulta ng ating studies on the National Nutrition Survey. Thank you po, Sir Robbie, for your answer. We have some questions here po from Ms. So her first question po is, what are the nutritional downsides of vegetarian or vegan diets kung i-compare po natin sa ating recommendation of the Pinggang Pinoy?
Yes, actually, it's a good question and a bit tricky. For example, I think a vegetarian is more of a lifestyle choice in diet. It depends on kung anong reason why siya vegetarian, and there's different classification then I think of vegetarians. May purely vegan, we have the lacto-ovo, something. So it depends on the vegetarian. But if we go into the purely vegetable, of course, ma-skip yung rich sources natin ng calcium, iron, proteins. So those are the, in a way, what would say a downside unless there's a replacement. Ngayon, mayroon ng mga products kasi that's targeted towards people following this type of diet. But if it's a pesco ovo, for example, vegetarian diet, so that would, I think, at least for me, would not be a problem since may sources pa rin siya ng good protein from fish or vegetable or lacto-ovo, so that's from milk. So yun po. But in general po, if naging vegetarian, yun po yung na-omit po natin, yung mga iron, lalo na sa female, very important ng iron and protein. Thank you.
Okay pa, thank you Sir Robbie. Another question po. Are there recent studies on the contribution of local fruits and vegetables to the overall nutrient intake of Filipinos?
I'm not thank you sa question. I'm not sure how to respond to it in the context of NGF or Pinggang Pinoy, but I think for the national survey result, it's possible to see the contribution ng local fruits when we say, tama po, no? Local fruits. Yeah, I think it's possible na may data naman po, dietary data, gagawa ng study. I think that's possible. But yeah, I'm sorry, maybe I'm not the right person to answer for
Yes
that
po, siguro
question.
we
Thank
can
you.
check po the FNRI website. So meron po doon mga results ng National Nutrition Survey. And then if you have other questions, pwede po kayong mag-email para maka-respond po kami sa request po ninyo. Katulad po ng inyong question on the contribution of local fruits and vegetables. Kasi sir, di ba parang ang usual result lang is either nakaka-consume ba ng fruits and vegetables yung mga
Yes. Right. Then yung mga nami-meet yung based on the PDRI, if we're meeting the energy and certain nutrient requirements.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So we have another question po. In the illustrations of the recommended meals for different age groups, for one meal po yun, tama po ba? And the last row states the number of glasses of water perhaps in a day. So clarification lang po again ni Ms. Criza.
Okay, yes. It's per meal. Tama po, per meal siya. But when you say water, yun yung, I just have to check. Sige, so for this one, yan ako na dito. But yung water kasi it's a per day tawag dito, recommendation. But what we want to point out here is for this one, I think this is the plate, yung inaano, yung baso. Yeah, nilagay yung baso dyan, yung water, just to reinforce yung concept of water intake actually. Water rather than other sources ng fluids like sugar sweetened beverages or something. So it's more of a water, and the water is ang recommendation would be 1 day rather than per meal. Is that, I hope I was able to address the question. I just want to highlight na ano siya, it's a per day yung water. And
Okay
just
po.
want
Thank you,
to
sir.
share din po, when we say fluids, ang fluid natin is, ang sources nun is not only the water from the cup, it can be from inherent dun sa pagkain or sa dishes. So that can also be sources of fluid intake. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sir Robbie. I guess clear naman po ito sa ating pong si Ms. Criza na nagtanong po sa atin. We have another question po. Nakalagay po sa Pinggang Pinoy na ito po ay for healthy individuals. So, paano po ito magagamit kung ang isang tao ay meron pong other diseases like for example, diabetes or hypertension?
Yeah, tama po. The Pinggang Pinoy is intended for healthy individuals because we believe na if may mga certain conditions, there's a appropriate healthcare process for this. And it's usually consult with the doctor and the dietitian. But I think the Pinggang Pinoy, the principle of having a balanced varied diet is still applicable for those conditions. However, may mga specific computations depending on the situation of the person. So yun, I think the principle of Pinggang Pinoy can still be applied, but while maybe prioritizing the recommendation ng doctor depende sa situation ng.
Okay, thank you very much, Sir Robbie, sa inyo pong clarification. We have another question po dito. So sabi po niya, is there a real plate for Pinggang Pinoy na available sa public? Parang dati po, no, merong mga inilabas na Pinggang Pinoy plates ang DOST-FNRI, although I'm not sure po if available po ito ngayon. But siguro yung dimension po ng ating plate, di ba may sukat yan, Sir Rob?
Yes, I think we have parang plate yung actual na yung plato talaga. It can be purchased, I think, here sa FA Employee Association, I believe. But it's like siguro 6-inch yan. At a 10-inch plate. Tapos may naka-print out doon na may naka-print out na pictures ng Pinggang Pinoy, and it's I think a very useful na item sa lalo na ngayon magki-Christmas. I think it's a very smart gift to give. It's, I think 660 or something pesos. Mga ganun, 60 pesos under the employee association. But if may po, pwede pong mag-email sa FNRI Employee Association, I think. But meron po.
Yes po. So,
thank you for the interest or
yes
question.
Po. Siguro we'll get back to you po. No? Ang sabi po dito is may binibenta nga daw po ang Food and Nutrition Research Institute Employees Association ng ating mga Pinggang Pinoy plates. But if you currently don't have the plate po, basta susundin lang po natin yung recommendations. So meron po naman doon nakalagay na gaano kadami yung ating carbohydrate intake or carbohydrate portion sa ating pinggan, yung protein and so on. Okay? So thank you po Ma'am Eden. So sabi po niya it's Melaware ang material po ng ating Pinggang Pinoy plate. Okay po. Okay, so may mga further questions pa po pa tayo from our participants before we officially end our webinar? Okay.
If not, just send an email lang if may clarifications. And again, I apologize din sa glitch ng connectivity ng internet for unstable lang po. And I hope you were able to still pick up and gain insights sa FNRI developed tools and guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you po, Sir Robbie. Naging clear naman po ang inyong discussion. So again, if you have other questions, you can contact us po sa ating official email address. So thank you po again, Sir Robbie, sa inyo pong clear presentation on the Pinggang Pinoy and the nutritional guidelines for Filipinos. So before we end, let me just share my screen. So we would just want to award the Certificate of Appreciation to Sir Robbie. So let me just read the citation. So the Food and Nutrition Research Institute presents this Certificate of Appreciation to Sir Robbie Carlos Sitan for sharing his valuable insight as resource person during the webinar on Pinggang Pinoy and Nutritional Guidelines for Filipinos. So held on August 27, 2021 via Zoom, to be signed by Dr. Imelda Angeles Agdepa, our Director 4 and Scientist 2 of DOST-FNRI. So thank you very much, Sir Robbie, for sharing your experience po sa ating pong webinar on Pinggang Pinoy and the Nutritional Guidelines for Filipinos. So a virtual applause po para po sa ating speaker. For this,
you're welcome po.
Expertise po. Thank you very much, Sir Robbie.
Welcome po.
Okay po, before we end our webinar, so let me just read a few reminders po, no? So, ito po ay nakita po namin na discuss chat box kanina po, no? So, please, let's pay attention po sa ating reminders. So, hindi po tayo magkakaroon ng problema sa ating issuance of certificates. So, ang ating pong webinar ay binigyan po ng 0.5 CPD points ng Philippine Regulations Commission para sa ating mga nutritionist dietitian. So mahalaga po ang inyong impormasyon katulad po ng inyong PRC ID number at ng inyong PRC ID expiration date sa inyong pong accounts. So siguraduhin lamang po na inyong account ay updated. Maaari po ninyong i-edit ang inyong mga impormasyon sa inyong iTrain account sa pamamagitan po ng edit account na makikita ninyo sa ilalim ng inyong pangalan. Maaari din po ninyong baguhin ang inyong pangalan gamit ang ating edit account dahil ito po gamitin ng ating iChain system para ma-generate po ang inyong mga certificates. So ang mga mabibigyan po ng ating certificates ay ang mga attendees po natin na nakakuha ng ating pre-test, post-test, and evaluation form. So lahat po yon ay kailangan yung masagutan para po maka-generate po ng certificate ang ating iChain website. So automatic na po ito. Ano po? So mahalaga po na tama po at parehas ang email address na ilalagay po ninyo sa attendance link na inilagay na po namin sa ating chat box. Again po, mahalaga po na parehas at tama ang email address na ilalagay po ninyo attendance link na nasa chat box po natin. Po ito rin po yung email address na ginamit po ninyo sa inyong mga iChain accounts. Kung mali po ang email address na inyong inilagay sa ating attendance sheet, hindi po ito makikilala ng ating iChain website. So automatic na po ang paglilink ng ating attendance sheet sa inyong mga iChain. So mahalaga po na parehas po at tama ang mga email addresses na ilalagay po ninyo. Hinihikayat po namin na sagutan na po ninyo ngayon ang ating attendance sheet dahil ito po ay isasara namin pagkatapos ng ating webinar. Again po, isasara po namin ang pagbibigay ng response sa ating attendance sheet pagkatapos po ng ating webinar. So i-click lamang po ang link na nasa chat box para sa inyong attendance para po ma-record po ng ating system ang inyong pag-attend sa webinar na ito. Again po, reminder po, parehas po dapat ang email address na ilalagay po natin sa ating mga attendance sheet na katulad po ng ginagamit nating account sa iChain website. Para po sa mga attendees po na may PRC license ng nutritionist dietitian, kailangan po ninyong magsagot ng ating post-test and evaluation sa oras na 1 to 5 p.m. ngayong araw. Ginagamit po kasi namin ito para sa mga impormasyon na ipapasa po natin para sa completion report ng ating webinar. Para naman po sa iba na hindi po or walang PRC license, maaari sagutan ang post-test at evaluation anytime kuha po ninyo ang inyong mga certificates. Again po, 1 p.m. po magbubukas ang ating post-test and feedback form or evaluation form para po makuha po ninyo ang inyong mga certificates. Anytime po ito para sa mga attendees po natin na walang PRC IDs. Again po, para po sa mga attendees natin na may PRC license, kailangan po ninyong masagutan ang ating post-test at evaluation sa oras po na 1 to 5 p.m. para po sa ating completion report. Again po, pupunta lang po kayo sa ating profile button ng inyong mga iChain accounts at pindutin lamang po at ang post-test button at take evaluation button after po nito. Once po na na-accomplish nyo na po ang ating post-test and evaluation, automatic nyo na po makukuha ang inyong mga certificates sa pamamagitan po ng pag-click ng ating Get Certificate button. Again po, yung attendance link po natin ay nasa chat box na po. Ini-encourage po namin kayo na sagutin ang ating attendance link para po maka-record po ito ng aming iChain website. Okay? So maraming salamat po sa inyong ating ikalawang bahagi ng ating webinar series on the Pinggang Pinoy and the Nutritional Guidelines for Filipinos. So meron pa po tayong susunod na mga webinars. Parte pa rin po ng ating webinar series on the DOST-FNRI Nutrition Tools. On September 10 po, tayong webinar on the new food exchange list sa parehong oras po na 11 a.m. via the iChain website ito. So kindly register po gamit po ang inyong mga iChain website and hinihikayat po namin na inyong sagutan ang ating mga pre-tests at least or before 1 hour bago magsimula ang ating webinar. Sa oras po na 9 a.m. ay hindi nyo na po makiklik ang take pretest button. Kaya po mas maganda po na sasagutan nyo na po ang ating mga pretest pagkatapos po ninyo mag-register. So before we end po, I would like to invite our participants. So before we have the beta testing questionnaire po. So ito po ay hinihiling po namin na tulong upang mas mapaganda pa po natin ang iTrain website para sa mga susunod pang webinars ng DOST-FNRI. Malaking tulong po ito para po mas mapaganda pa po natin ang serbisyo ng website. Again po, the attendance link ay nasa chat box, same as the beta test questionnaire ay makikita po doon. Okay po. So before we end, may I invite everyone po to please open their cameras para po sa ating photo opportunity. Okay po, it's good to see you all po. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat and thank you po for attending our webinar. So, ayan. I have several panels po sa ating Zoom window. So let me just take the screenshot po, no? So po tayo dahil hindi nyo po makikita kung sino po ang nasa panel po. Okay, smile po tayo kahit ang ilan ay nakamask. In 3, 2, 1, smile po. Okay, next panel po tayo. 3, 2, 1, smile.
Okay po, thank you po, Miss Jane, for the screenshots. Again, thank you for all our participants for today po. May we remind everyone to please answer po our beta testing questionnaire to help us improve po our iTrain website. If you have answered po the previous webinar, pwede na po kayong hindi magsagot. So, thank you po again for joining us for this session. Again, we apologize for any technical glitches po. And we look forward po to seeing you again po on September 10, 2021 po for the another webinar on food exchange list po. Thank you po. Sir Robbie, meron po palang nagtatanong how to register for the linear programming webinar po.
Yes, okay. Thank you for the interest dun sa topic na yun sa webinar. Please na lang po, visit or check the Facebook page ng FNRI. Maybe within this week or early next week for the link and yung mga information. So we'll be posting it naman po sa FNRI Facebook po. Thank you.
Okay po, thank you po, Sir Robbie. Thank you po, everyone. See you again po on September 10 for our next webinar po. Again po, 1 o'clock pa po available ang ating evaluation and post-test. Thank you po.
Ng plato mo,
Pinggang Pinoy.
isda o karne, 1/6 ng plato mo.
Pinggang Pinoy.
Pinggang Pinoy.
Halina kayo, kain na tayo ng brown rice. Masarap na mas masustansya pa kesa white rice. Vitamin at mineral, siksik pa rin. Pampalusog ng katawan, ng bata at matanda. Para sa ating lahat, ang brown rice. Calcium,
Papatibay ng buto
thiamine,
para sa healthiness.
niacin sa panunaw na maayos. Magnesium, taga-ayos ng katawan mo. Halina kayo, kain na tayo ng brown rice. Masarap na mas masustansya pa kesa white rice. Vitamin at mineral, siksik pa rin. Pampalusog ng katawan, ng bata at matanda. Para sa ating lahat, ang brown rice. Sagot sa malnutrition, iwas cancer, diabetes at sakit sa puso. Konting kain lang, mabubusog ka na. Halina, tulungan ang bayan.
Tulungan ang bayan.
Halina, mag-brown rice na. Mag-brown rice na.
Everything today is faster. Everything today is easier. With technology getting better, it doesn't mean we're getting healthier. While the kids are young, while the parents are working, while the stress is tough, just remember the following. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a run or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyles. Inspire others to do the same. The story of life is no game. Life doesn't need to end that fast. If you choose health, the longer you last. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a run or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyles. Go for a daily dose of nutrition. Go for a balanced meal with variation. Go for a run or two of exercise. Aim for healthy lifestyle. Live longer, happier, better with FNR.
Ang awiting ito'y gabay sa Pilipino. Para sa gustong nutrisyon, kalusugan natin dapat number 1. 10 tips lamang ang inyong tandaan. Number 1, kumain ng iba't ibang pagkain. 2, kay baby sa unang 6 months breastfeeding at mula 6 months angkop na pagkain. 3, araw-araw maggulay at prutas. 4, isda o karne at pagkain mayaman sa protina. 5, uminom ng gatas at kumain ng calcium-rich foods. 6, tubig at pagkain tiyaking malinis at ligtas. 7, gumamit ng iodized salt. 8, hinay lang sa maalat, mamantika, matamis. 9, i-maintain ang tamang timbang. 10, maging aktibo, araw-araw ehersisyo. Huwag manigarilyo, alak iwasan mo. Ito ang bagong gabay sa wastong nutrisyon. Ito ang bagong gabay sa wastong nutrisyon. Ito ang bagong gabay sa wastong nutrisyon.
Para sa Pilipino.
Pinggang Pinoy. Pinggang Pinoy.
Alam mo na ba na may bagong gabay para sa lakas at kalusugan mo. Simpleng-simple lang at madaling tanda. Ang tawag dito'y pinggan.